Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, and as I continue looking at some of the best matches in Halloween Havoc history, now I'm gonna take a look and talk about the match from Halloween Havoc 1994 between Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. But before I start with this, there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about first. First, take a look at what I found over the weekend. Now, this is like an old frisbee that my dad got many years ago when he attended an old wrestling event. This is a frisbee that's actually signed by Lanny Poffo back when he was called Leapin' Lanny. My sister and my aunt were looking through my grandma's old room over the weekend, and they found a few things, and one of the things they found was this frisbee that my dad got many years ago when he attended a wrestling event, and then actually signed by Lanny Poffo. It says the World Wrestling Federation has caused a culture shock in every phase of our society, from classical to rock. In triumphant jubilation, every social class is one with a single common interest, just to have a little fun. I've seen the rapture in the eyes of fans of every nation. You made us what we are today, World Wrestling Federation. Best wishes, Leapin' Lanny. And then, as I've shown you, he actually signed it right here. So, this was pretty awesome right here. I didn't even know he had this until I found it. Yeah. And another thing I wanted to talk about before I start off talking about this match is something about the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view this Sunday. Oh boy. This Sunday at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, oh man, Hell in a Cell has truly been completely ruined, and it's just destroyed now. This Sunday at Hell in a Cell, I actually have Sasha Banks and Charlotte in a Hell in a Cell match for the Raw Women's Championship. Oh, what is that? What is that? You actually having a Hell in a Cell match between two women? I mean, come on! Women aren't made for the Hell in a Cell match? Gosh, I mean, you're really having two women compete in a match that had, that was between The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, Undertaker and Mankind, Triple H and Cactus Jack, Undertaker, or Kurt Angle, The Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H, and Rikishi, Triple H and Chris Jericho, Triple H and Shawn Michaels, Undertaker and Edge, Triple H and Undertaker. You're actually now having two women in a Hell in a Cell match. Seriously, I mean, WWE has just doing everything they can to ruin Hell in a Cell with this freaking Hell in a Cell pay-per-view by having people that don't even need to have Hell in a Cell matches, and feuds that don't even need Hell in a Cell matches just be Hell in a Cell matches, and it's ridiculous. And what's worse than this, once again, just like in the 2009 show, there are 3 Hell in a Cell matches on the same pay-per-view. Seriously, this is way too many Hell in a Cell matches, okay? There should only be one Hell in a Cell each night on a pay-per-view in a night, okay? There shouldn't be multiple Hell in a Cells. Like WWE, usually at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, they usually, in 2009, they had 3 Hell in a Cell matches. In 2010, 2011, and 2014, and 2015, and they had 2 Hell in a Cell matches the same night. I mean, there should only be one Hell in a Cell match on one night, okay? There shouldn't be multiple. And this is just ridiculous to have a Hell in a Cell match between 2 women, okay? Seriously, I mean, do you actually think that Sasha Banks and Charlotte are going to be actually have a brutal or violent Hell in a Cell? Do you think they're actually going to be using the cell as a weapon? Do you think they're going to bleed heavily? Do you think they're going to be using weapons? Do you think they're going to go on top of the cell and fight? Gosh, this is ridiculous. And I've actually heard reports that will actually main event the show. come the frick on. Alright? You're having, like, you're actually having this main event over, like, a Hell in a Cell match that's actually for the World Championship, the WWE Universal Championship, and you're actually having this go after 2 Hell in a Cell matches with actual men. Come the fuck on. This is just ridiculous, and yeah, just the way I see it now, WWE has just completely destroyed the Hell in a Cell match altogether. This is just crossing the line. This is ruining it altogether. Oh my gosh. But anyway, okay, enough about that. Let me just get to this actual match. Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair at Halloween Havoc 1994. So, yeah, this is a real great match right here. You know, let me just talk about the Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair rivalry that happened. You know, it just sucks that we didn't get a Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair match at WrestleMania. I mean, I remember these two were actually originally supposed to main event WrestleMania 8 for the title, which is one of the reasons why Hulk Hogan regained the title so quickly from The Undertaker at Tuesday in Texas. But yeah, then WWE eventually ended up changing the plan, and we didn't get this match. And gosh, it just sucked. I mean, this is like the biggest WrestleMania dream match in history. Like the two biggest superstars of all time facing off at WrestleMania. That's like the biggest WrestleMania dream match ever. And it just sucks that we didn't get it at WrestleMania. But once Hulk Hogan came to the WCW, we did get this rivalry between Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, and it was really awesome. We had the match at the Bash at the Beach, and Hulk Hogan made his in-ring debut at WCW, and he defeated Ric Flair for the WCW World title. And the feud continued on, and it all culminated here at Halloween Havoc. And it was inside of a steel cage, and it was booked as a retirement match. Yeah, I mean, the loser of this match would, quote-unquote, have their career ended. Yeah, but it turned out that wasn't the case because, yeah, we all know, Hulk Hogan ended up winning this match, and, yeah, Ric Flair supposedly, disappeared, or at least, stopped competing for just a little while, but even then, just, a few months later, Ric Flair was just back in the company again. Gosh, I mean, I talked about this before with Clark Herman, one of my subscribers. I really don't like it when, wrestling does this stuff, when they have, have the stipulation where the loser has to retire, and it turns out that it's not a legit retirement, or they're going to be coming back. We had WrestleMania 3 with Roddy Piper and Adrian Adonis, and Roddy Piper was saying that was going to be his retirement match, yet Roddy Piper continued to compete after that. You had Ultimate Warrior versus Randy Savage at WrestleMania 7. Randy Savage lost that, yet later in the year he was reinstated into the company. I mean, sometimes, you know that the retirement or the firing is kayfabe, like what happened in 2010 with John Cena when Randy Orton defeated Wade Barrett at Survivor Series in 2010, right? And John Cena supposedly was fired from the company, but of course, that was just kayfabe, and he was still, really, still actually with the company. I mean, it makes sense like this, but I really don't like it when they actually make it seem like the loser will really retire, and they're not retiring, just like they do here. Ric Flair didn't really go into retirement here. Ric Flair just came back a few months later. So that's something I really don't like about this. Because of, what all those situations, it made me think that at WrestleMania 26, after Shawn Michaels lost to Undertaker, he would eventually be coming back, but that was actually a legit retirement, so, at least they seem to get that right now. So, yeah, that's something I don't like about it, how they just made it a retirement match, even though, there wasn't, Ric Flair was just back a few months later. Yeah. And of course, this match also was in a steel cage. And yeah, this is where some people have said this is one of, possibly Hulk Hogan's best match in the WCW, and it may be. Yeah. And yeah, let me just talk, and I guess I'll talk a little bit about the full Halloween Havoc 1994 show, how it actually turned out being. Halloween Havoc 1994, it really was a pretty bad pay-per-view. I mean, if you just watch like every other match on the show, like if you just basically watch the even-numbered matches, the show actually does look pretty decent. Because the first match on the show you had Johnny B. Bad versus the Honky Tonk Man, and that just ended in a time limit draw, and that match really was like a really big fail. You had Pretty Wonderful versus Stars and Stripes for the tag team titles, which was a decent match. You had Dave Sullivan versus Kevin Sullivan, which did an count out, which sucked. Dustin Rhodes versus Arn Anderson was a pretty good match. Jim Duggan versus Steve Austin, that sucked. Vader versus the Guardian Angel was a pretty good match. Nasty Boys versus Terry Funk and Bunkhouse Buck, oh my gosh, that was a huge fail. And then you had this match, Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair, which was a great match. And yeah, this match was really great. I mean, it wasn't like where one guy was like dominating the whole thing and the other guy was just getting beat up for the whole thing and like coming back at the end. And yeah, I mean, this was actually a good back and forth match. Like, Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair got in enough offense and it went back and forth and it was a really good match and a really good brawl between these two. Yeah, some of Hulk Hogan's best matches are with Ric Flair. I mean, the Bash of the Beast match was really good, and this was a great match. And it's really impressive that these guys were able to really have great matches at their age. Like, Hulk Hogan was over the age of 40 by this point, and Ric Flair, he was, like, over 45. And so, it's good to see that these two can actually put on great matches with each other. Yeah. Yeah, I would probably give this match probably 4 stars out of 5. I mean, it's just a really great match. Of course, like, you had Jimmy Hart in Hulk Hogan's corner, and you have Sensational Sherry, or actually known here, Sensuous Sherry, in Ric Flair's corner, just like the two of them were in each guy's corner at Bash at the Beach. Yeah. And you also had Mr. T as the special referee in this match, and it's like the commentators, like Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan, they did bring up that Mr. T was like a partner of Hulk Hogan's at WrestleMania 1, so they were saying that maybe Mr. T would actually favor Hulk Hogan, but Mr. T did call this match down the middle. Yeah, and there was also like some really there was like a load of interference in here. Like, Sherry tried getting involved in here, and we have Jimmy Hart was trying to stop Sherry, and we also have interference from like Sting and Ric Flair's Masked Man, which I'll talk about later. Yeah. And we also have the post-match segment, which is kind of anticlimactic because of what we got later in the year, but I'll get to that later. But yeah, still, Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair here, it is a really great match, despite the useless stipulation and stuff. Yeah, like I said, I give it 4 stars out of 5. So let me just talk about the match itself. So the match started off it started out just a standard match. Just like, as I said, both guys were just like going back and forth with each other. Hulk Hogan got offense in, and Ric Flair got offense in. Yeah, Ric Flair hit a big suplex on Hulk Hogan, where he actually held Hulk Hogan up for a little bit, and then dropped Hulk Hogan down. There was a lot of use of the cage in this match. I mean, just watch how much the cage is used here, and opposed to what we see in cage matches now. And do you think that we're gonna see this with Sasha Banks and Charlotte in a Hell in a Cell match? Yeah. And Ric Flair tried climbing out of the cage a few times in here, but Hulk Hogan was able to get Ric Flair down, and just they were both climbing onto the cage and battling on the cages. Yeah, Hulk Hogan's left knee was like bandaged up and stuff, and Ric Flair was targeting Hulk Hogan's knee in this match, and Ric Flair like tried to unwrap the bandaging around Hulk Hogan's knee, and then Mr. T ended up just stopping Ric Flair from doing it. One point, Hulk Hogan counted the figure 4 and went for a roll up, but Ric Flair survived it. And then at one point, Ric Flair did get the figure 4 locked in on Hulk Hogan, but Hulk Hogan, of course, eventually reversed it. And at one point, as Hulk Hogan was charging towards Ric Flair like pulled Mr. T in the way, and Hulk Hogan accidentally nailed Mr. T. And then Ric Flair was just like blatantly attacking Mr. T. Then Sherry tried to climb into the cage, and then Jimmy Hart like just was trying to stop Sherry from climbing in, and he actually pulled off the skirt Sherry was wearing. And then Sherry ended up just shoving Jimmy Hart right into the guardrail, knocking him out. And Sherry tried to climb back into the cage again, and then Sting then got involved, and he pulled Sherry down, stopped her from climbing in. But then we had the Masked Man, who was just kind of like assisting Ric Flair in taking out his rivals around this time. Yep. And the Masked Man then like had some kind of pipe, and then he nailed Sting and Jimmy Hart with it, taking 2 of them out. And then Sherry and the Masked Man like got involved. Sherry then ended up climbing into the cage and tried to attack Hulk Hogan. And then Ric Flair and Sherry then like were just double teaming Hulk Hogan, and then they threw Hulk Hogan into the Masked Man's pipe. Yeah, the Masked Man was like hanging on the outside of the cage with his pipe like over it, and then Ric Flair and Sherry threw Hulk Hogan face first into it, knocking him out. And Sherry like handcuffed Mr. T to the ropes. And what didn't make sense about this is like Ric Flair was trying to win. He actually went for pin attempts, and then like Mr. T was knocked out, and yet like Ric Flair was trying to win. Yet he and Sherry kept attacking Mr. T. Like, if you're trying to win, why do you keep attacking the referee like that? Yeah. But then eventually, like Hulk Hogan then attacked both Ric Flair and Sherry. Hulk Hogan actually clotheslined both Ric Flair and Sherry at the same time. Yeah, gosh, I mean Hulk Hogan and Sherry. I mean, this is like one of the best man versus woman rivalries ever in wrestling. I mean, Hulk Hogan was like assaulted Sherry basically like every time Sherry's gotten involved with Hulk Hogan. Like, remember like during like the Hulk Hogan Randy Savage feud in 1989, like Sherry got involved in it and Hulk Hogan attacked her like at SummerSlam 1989. And then like during this whole rivalry with Ric Flair, like Hulk Hogan kept attacking Sherry all the time because she tried to go after him. But eventually, Hulk Hogan then took out Sherry, and then he then gave Ric Flair a leg drop, and then he then like regained Mr. T's composure, or like he woke Mr. T up, and then Hulk Hogan then pinned Ric Flair, and Hulk Hogan won, and Hulk Hogan retained the title, and then Ric Flair was gone. He retired. Then afterwards, as Hulk Hogan was celebrating his victory in the ring, the Masked Man then came back. And he tried to attack Hulk Hogan again, but Hulk Hogan fought off the Masked Man, and then Hulk Hogan took the mask off, and it was revealed that the Masked Man was Brutus the Barber Beefcake, or Brother Broody, as he was called here. And I really don't know how he got down there, because when Hulk Hogan actually, like, came out, like, during his entrance, and Brutus Beefcake, or Brother Broody, he actually came out with Hulk Hogan, but I didn't see him, like, walk out to ringside with Hulk Hogan. I just saw him, like, come out in the entranceway. And then, like I said earlier, the Masked Man, as, like, Sting pulled Sherry off, just came from under the ring, so I don't know if Brutus Beefcake was the same Masked Man that came from under the ring, or if it was, like, a different guy. I mean, if it was a different guy that came out the ring, and then it was just Brutus Beefcake that was the Masked Man as he ran up to try to attack Hulk Hogan again, so I'm not really sure how that worked out. But yeah, yeah, Hulk Hogan knew that basically like one of his best friends betrayed him. But then like Kevin Sullivan came out, and then like Earthquake or John Tenta or whatever the heck he was called when he was in the WCW came out, and then yeah, they were all just taking out Hulk Hogan, attacking him, and then Sting then came out and made the save for Hulk Hogan. And so yeah, and with Brutus Beefcake being the masked man hero turning on Hulk Hogan, this would then lead to the next pay-per-view, Starrcade 1994, a match between Hulk Hogan and Brutus Beefcake, or as he was known at that point, the Butcher. Oh man. Yeah, that was just wow. I mean, that's your main event for the Starrcade, WCW's biggest pay-per-view. Wow. But yeah, like I said, Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair here, it was a really great match. Like I said, 4 stars out of 5. I mean, just a real great match, and yeah, it probably is Hulk Hogan's best match in the WCW. I mean, yeah, just like great back and forth match. I like the interference with like Sherry and the Masked Man and stuff. Even though like the reveal of who the Masked Man was kind of like anticlimactic, because I mean this is what you're setting up for at Starrcade. Well, yeah, not really a fan of that, but still match overall really great match. So, all right, so yeah, that's all I really have to say about the match. So, all right, so like, yeah. So I guess that does it for my review of Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair at Halloween Havoc 1994. I hope you guys enjoyed this review of the match. Action. So yeah, and stay tuned as I got a few more match reviews for Halloween Havoc coming up over the next week leading up to Halloween. Alright, so anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.